So, you want to be a real estate investor, but where do you start? How do you know what information and sources to trust? That's where I come in. I'm Jonny Cattani, and this is the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. Hey guys, real quick, before we start, go to investwithcattani.com and download my free ebook, Is Commercial Real Estate Recession Proof? Now to today's show. What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Jonny Cattani. I'm joined today by a man who truly needs no introduction, the man himself, Gino Barbaro. Gino is an operator and investor with over 175 million in assets under management, co-founder of Jake and Gino, where the students have closed over 35,000 units. Currently lives in Saint Augustine with his wife and 6 children. Gino, welcome to the show.
Jonny, I'm number 7 today. How you're grinding it out? You're living the entrepreneur's dream. How you doing, bro?
Oh, we're grinding, man. I'm doing well. You know what? Honestly, I committed to a daily podcast and I didn't really know what I was getting into, but gosh, it's been fun.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
I mean, I get to talk about real estate investing all day long. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So obviously, you know, a ton of people know your story. Our big focus today is going to kind of be more on the mentorship side of things, but kind of talk about how Jake and Gino became a thing, how you got involved in this space.
When I was in the restaurant business, I met Jake in 2009. I was stuck like a lot of the listeners out there. I had a small restaurant, but let's not kid myself. It was a W-2 job. I'd work Monday through Sunday night, sit at home, do the bills, what's ever left over, I keep. Everyone else gets paid first, I get paid last. You do that for about 15, 16, 17 years, it starts wearing on you. You start getting tired. You say to yourself, I want to build legacy wealth. I want to build generational wealth. Those are all the buzzwords. I've got a business. What am I doing wrong here? And when I met Jake, I had already done a couple of real estate deals. I already made huge mistakes. I already knew that I needed help, and I had already gone through a couple of mentorship programs. I was at that point. There's pain. What do you do with pain? You either avoid it or you seek pleasure. And for me, the only way to seek pleasure was to learn the real estate space and really focus on multifamily. And when I'd met Jake and we started, partnering up, I had already the experience. He was a W-2 worker at Glaxo. He was actually, ironically, selling vaccines at the time back in 2008, 2009. And he's like, dude, I don't do this anymore. Yeah, exactly. He's like, dude, I don't want to be doing this. And he got out of that eventually. But we partnered up. And for us, 18 months, it took us to find that first deal. And I had experience. I had a couple small deals in New York, but Jake moves out to Knoxville. We're in a new market. He's there. He's boots on the ground. And for me, it was always multifamily. I always wanted multifamily. I think the first key to everybody is just pick a niche. If you like self-storage, great. If you like mobile home parks, great. If you like multifamily, great. Single family homes, whatever the niche is, office, just pick it and really become an expert, become a master at it and focus on that. Don't jump to the next great thing. I would caution to say, if you've got experience and you've been doing this for a decade, we just spoke to Dave Zook, great friend of ours, great real estate investor. He started out with multifamily. Now he's transitioning to self-storage after 7 or 8 years because he sees cap rates are really compressed in multifamily and he sees the basic, the idea of what's going on in self-storage. He can buy them better, but he's looking at it as from an entrepreneurial perspective. He's not just out there being an investor. He's being an entrepreneur because in real estate, to be totally successful, you have to look at it as an asset. You're out there and you're buying that asset, but you're not just being a landlord. You're actually building a business. And that's what's great about multifamily. Every single deal you have, whether it's a 10 unit, a 15 unit, a 300 unit, you look at those individually and you say to yourself, I got a little mini cash machine going on here. How do I scale it up? How do I implement systems? And how do I become, as we say, Jake and Gino, a multifamily entrepreneur? Fast forward to 2015, Jake and I are doing pretty good. We've got about 400 units. That first deal took 18 months. From 18 months to, year 3, year 4, we've got about 500 units. And I'm going, Mom, bro, I was at the restaurant with them. Peace out. What I did, though, was I said for the 6 months, I'm not going to work at the restaurant Monday through Friday. It's real estate full time. Saturday, Sunday, I'll be here at the restaurant. That lasted 6 months. My wife almost shot me. She said, dude, you can't keep doing this. And I was afraid. And a lot of you out there, you don't know when to leave. And that's the hardest part, not knowing when to leave. I finally said to myself, I'm pretty close to my number of what I need monthly. I had 6 kids at the time, living in New York, bigger than what the average person has. So I decided to leave in March of 2016. And I guess the rest is history. And it's been a great ride. It's been scary. And after that, you think the learning stops. Oh, you've become great at multifamily. You've got 1,500 units, and you've seen yourself, all those experts out there, where are they? I mean, the experts really aren't out there. The experts are really all, if they're truly experts, they're out there constantly learning. Because I didn't know how to scale a business. I'm like, how do I scale a business? So we started scaling our property management. Then Jake and Gino comes along in mid 2016. We write the book, we start the podcast. And that didn't really start exploding until I decided to hire a salesperson. The guy's name is Josh. He's still with us. He's fantastic. And that's another evolution. It's really, you look at a business, and from that business, you have to see, I think you have to see what you want from that business. And for me, the education really was my sole purpose. I didn't want to go out there and utilize it to raise capital. I really wanted to teach others how to do it. But coincidentally, what happens is it really fuels the property management and the education side, because I'm speaking to amazing people every week. Dave Zook, I mean, Nikolai Ray, all these people in the real estate space. I'm learning from them as well. So it's helping our investing out as well as helping our education company out. So for us, 2016 to 2020, huge push of mentorship with scaling up. We hired Vern Harnish's company, Scaling Up, because we didn't know how to scale up a company. I mean, I had one restaurant for 18 years. I mean, last 6 years, we've had about 2,000, multifamily units under contract and under ownership. What changed? It was the education. It was the scaling up. It was that business building and the systems. But as we had spoken about before, you weren't ready 5 years ago to join multifamily, correct? I wasn't ready to scale up when I was at the restaurant. Everyone could have told me that, beat my head. You have to come to that pain point and say, what am I doing wrong? I don't want a job anymore. I really want to build a business. I want to be able to build a legacy, be able to build something where I can leave to my kids, be proud of, and actually impact and help others. And that's how Jake and Gino came about.
And I was just going to ask you, and that's an incredible story. And so obviously it's really, you reach that pain point and you realize you can't keep doing it how you're doing it and doing it on your own. And sounds like you guys even went as far as to hire someone to really increase that scalability.
Yes. Well, what I ended up doing was, here's the epiphany. I should have even told this story. It's around 2014-ish. I already had a property with Jake. I am in New York at the time. I moved to Florida in 2017, and I'm in the parking lot of my mom's restaurant. She owns the building. I own the restaurant. It's a Friday night. It's around 7:00. I'm getting hailed on. I'm in the parking lot. There's snow. I'm throwing salt out there. And I look up the building, and she has 3 apartments upstairs. And one of the lights are on in the apartment, and I'm by myself. It's deserted. There's nobody on. It's a Friday night. And I'm like, man, she's getting paid tonight. She has that apartment. That person's paying her rent. Guess what? I'm not getting paid this week. How does that even make any sense? Where I'm working my butt off, I'm not getting paid. I'm out here freezing my ass off. I've got gloves on. I'm throwing salt, and she's at home, and that resident is paying. That's when I put it together. And sometimes we need that aha moment in life. It's going to become so obvious, and that was the obvious point. And for us, with the scaling up, as far as our companies go with real estate, we reached a point where we were the I'm a men. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And we realized that IMA gets burned out. And for those of you out there, the hardest thing for an entrepreneur to do is to hire somebody. Your first or second hire is so challenging. But I will challenge you, if you're listening to this right now and you're saying to yourself, I think I got to hire my next employee, you're way past that. You already have hired to hire him, and start, the internet's an amazing thing. There's VAs out there. There's Indeed. There's places to find people to edit podcasts, to help you write blogs, to help you, shoot videos, whatever that looks like. These tasks that are lower level. I mean, even bookkeeping. We were doing our bookkeeping the first couple of years, and we had an accountant, but doing the bookkeeping was soul sucking. $25-$30 an hour now to do something like that. These are things that were really difficult in the beginning. And when we ended up doing with scaling up, the scaling up coaches, what they actually helped us to do was really to systemize a lot of things. What we created was what we call a cadence of accountability. Having meetings, but having meaningful meetings, having quarterly meetings every quarter to figure out what you're doing the next quarter, having a weekly call with our executive team every Monday morning at 8:00, having daily huddles in the morning, 8:45 with our entire Jake and Gino team. During COVID, we had, end of day calls the first 6 months to make sure everything was going on. Then from that, just building that out. And then every week I'll have a level 10 meeting as in traction. We went through traction as well, where we're having touch points with every team member, whether it's a property manager, whether it's my ops manager, whether it's my sales team, whether it's my, my vendor relations person. Every week we have that and we have it documented out. If you need to grow the business, you need to do this because you can't do everything. And you're out there, you have to hire people. And then on top of that, what the scaling up did was core values. We created our core values and our mission statement. And for those of you out there that think it's poo-poo, I agree with you 10 years ago, but I wholeheartedly disagree with you now. And that was the big revelation for us. We're like, wow, we have core values: people first, make it happen, extreme ownership, unwavering ethics, and growth mindset. We hire, we fire our employees, our vendors, anyone we go into partnership or relationship with. That's what we're looking for with that type of mentality. And it's really trying to build a culture, trying to build a brand around Jake and Gino and around our property management company that is really exudes, you want people to work for you and want to work with you. It's really hard to have a property manager do what you want unless they're bought into this culture, unless they're bought into what you're trying to do. And when you're scaling up, you're at the top. You have to lead by example. And as you grow, having people underneath work for you is really, really important. And they have to buy into the vision. As
even your assistant, even if you have a VA, they need to be bought into that. So what advice do you have for someone who's kind of at that point and they're trying to decide which part they want to focus on and then hire the rest out?
Great question. What I would say is the first thing is don't look at it as a year-long commitment. Let's say you're hiring somebody for $100,000 a year. That's a lot of money, $100,000. Well, what does that break down to monthly? Is that $8,000 a month, $9,000 a month? So you say to yourself, they're going to be put on a 3-month retainer, 3 months. So you're committing $30,000 for the next 3 months to see if this person works out. After 3 months, if they work out, great. You hire them on, you continue them going. If not, you cut your losses. So don't think of hiring somebody and having to allocate all this money. See how it works. The next thing is when you hire somebody, make sure you have expectations for them. Make sure you have your job totally detailed and what you're expecting from them. At the restaurant, I didn't have that. I'd hire a dishwasher or a cook. I'd say, here, go wash dishes, go cook. They didn't have set expectations. They weren't being led by somebody. There was no system in place to train that person. That's what you need to do. And I think as far as trying to find your sole purpose, in the beginning, it's very difficult. The entrepreneurial journey in the beginning is a lot different than what it is as you grow. That's why it's challenging. In the beginning, I believe you got to do a little bit of everything. You have to figure out how to do everything. And once you start reaching it, for us, our first couple of deals, we property managed, we still do. We ended up doing our bookkeeping. But as you get to that 75, 80, 90 units, you have to lose that person that you were in the beginning and grow into that next iteration of yourself. And you start just getting rid of tasks that you really dread. Jake is probably the worst bookkeeper on the planet. I may be number 2 or number 3. Got rid of that. We started editing podcasts. Got rid of that. We started writing books and blogs. We would write them, but we'd have people help us with the editing. All these tasks that you think you can just don't want to do, and they're really low level. They don't bring a ton of value. You're out there trying to generate revenue. You're trying to generate ideas. If a task doesn't allow you to do that, get rid of that task. And what I would say is in the beginning, it's hard to do that. But as you grow, you'll see. And as I told you off camera, Jake is doing property management day to day. He was running those operations and I'm doing the education. I love what I'm doing. He loves what he's doing. And we cross over daily in our journeys and what our businesses are doing. In the beginning, it's more challenging, but as you grow, figure out what you love to do, figure out what gives you energy and what your sole purpose is, and then start focusing towards that.
That's awesome. That's so powerful. I love that so much. And I love even in the beginning, not being afraid to do more than you probably should be doing. And that's honestly how you learn that you are a terrible bookkeeper. Mm-hmm. Keep the books for a little bit. And if it's not going well, then you're probably not good at it. So I love that. So kind of talk, obviously you guys have an incredible, a lot of successful people coming out of your mentorship group, or is that what you guys are calling a mentorship group?
Yeah.
Wheelbarrow Profits, as it's called, actually had a few people as guests who have come out of there. So kind of talk about, you guys have your big 3 framework. Talk about though, why that's so important to have that framework and why in the beginning it's so important to ask for help and be a part of a mentorship group and grow with others.
I think the biggest part of any mentorship group, whether it's mine or someone else's, the person has to be willing to do the work. But I think more than anything else, there's accountability. If you're going to join, John, and you're going to invest $20,000 into your own education, are you going to prepare for those calls when the coaches come? Are you going to get on that plane and come to our boot camp in May? I bet you will, because you've invested in yourself. You're not going to sit in your underwear watching some YouTube videos, not really paying attention to it. You're going to be locked in because you just told your wife, I just dropped 20K for a mentorship program. Well, what are you doing on the couch watching YouTube videos? Shouldn't you be out there? Shouldn't you be on the calls with the coaches? Shouldn't you be doing your Monday lessons every Monday with Jake and Gino? Shouldn't you be out there networking with students and looking at deals and touring deals? There's a level of accountability that you have when you invest in yourself. You put that money down. You have skin in the game. That changes everything. Changes everything for me, and it changes everything for anyone else out there. When we did the mentorship with our scaling up, significant, close to 6 figures. Are we going to implement all the stuff that they're teaching us? Absolutely. If we're sitting by ourselves, we probably won't, because we don't have the time. It's not a big enough why. But once you invest in it, it's game over for most people. Then obviously you have the network and the community. What I love about it, I mean, we really source our people. We want people who can afford to do it. We want people who want multifamily, who understand that it's an entrepreneurial journey. We create multifamily entrepreneurs. That's what we're doing at Jake and Gino. But what's great is you have the network. You have students who are meeting up with each other, who want to talk about multifamily. They don't care about what's going on with politics. They don't care about what's going on with anything else. They're focused there about bettering their lives, and they're focused there about how to learn the process. And obviously having the coaches who have thousands of units as well, having that support system, I think is a game changer. You're going through a deal and you're like, due diligence. How do I do that? Oh, let me call my coach. Takeover. What kind of letters do I send out? How do I vet residents? How do I underwrite this deal? You have these questions as they pop up. It's great to have somebody on speed dial and be able to call them up and to be able to, quote unquote, pick their brain, but you're paying to pick the brain. And then when you do that, you're going to take that advice. I mean, it's an amazing thing what happens when you've got something. You've put some, like I keep saying, that skin in the game. Jay Abraham says it. He would, he's an amazing marketer back from the 80s. He would say, man, people would never take my advice. When I started charging $3,000 an hour, all of a sudden people start listening because they start taking advice. They start valuing it. When you get something for free, that's why socialism doesn't work. You value it very little. But when you have, whether it's time or money or energy into it, you're more likely to succeed.
Kyle, that's the truth. And honestly, like, we talked off camera and you kind of alluded, I wasn't ready 5 years ago. And what a game changer. I joined, I'm not sure if you heard of Raise Masters. It's Hunter Thompson's mastermind.
Oh, I've heard of Hunter. Yeah, I like
raising capital. Focus a little bit more on the capital raising side of things. And there's some broader stuff, but ultimately I joined, right? And of course it was not cheap. And wow, what a difference. I've been in 8 months, and in the last 8 months, I've grown so much exponentially more than I had in the 3 years prior, right? Because as soon as that becomes an investment, you treat yourself like a business really at that point, and you want to grow your business. And that's really what it's about.
Big shout out to Hunter. And what I like about it, what you said is it's not cheap. We always look at price versus value. Don't look at the price of something. Look at the value you're going to derive. Because what you've said is the last 3 years compared to 8 months. But what about going forward? Where I'm teaching our students how to scale a business now. It hasn't only impacted me. I'm giving millions of dollars of value to those students who want to implement those systems, because we teach our students. We have buy right, manage right, and finance right. We have our coaches who are property managers are coaching our students. So, I mean, to be able to do that, I've learned that skill, and I'm transferring that skill to others. So always look at the price, but see where what kind of value you're going to derive from it. I will guarantee you that the price that you paid, that value you've gotten already, you're probably going to 10X out in the next 2 to 3 years. And it's going to continue on for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And not only that, but the network, right? Like, it'll come to an end at the 1 year mark in terms of, access to the mentorship itself as, the principle of it. But the network is forever, right? I can always call those people, and I can always reach out to them. And there's partnerships already forming that are turning into deals. And obviously you guys are seeing that firsthand. So kind of step into, what is that like? What does that feel like in terms of, you guys obviously were successful to start. You decided you wanted to teach. Now, what does that feel like and look like for you guys, and seeing your students, kind of grow the success?
What I love about it more than anything else, I love shattering limiting beliefs, because everyone comes into multifamily and they all think you have to syndicate or buy a 300 units to be successful. And we teach everything. I've got Creative Cash that we wrote. We love talking about owner financing. You can owner finance deals. You can partner up with other students. You can joint venture on deals. You can syndicate, raise capital for deals. We love small deals. We love big deals. Right now, the small deals are making sense in this market because private equity and REITs are bidding up these bigger assets. So a lot of our students are buying 20 and 30 unit deals and having equity themselves. It's all about, for me, getting deals on what we call that imaginary conveyor belt. Start putting deals in that conveyor belt. And as they start to matriculate that 5-year cycle, you either sell, refi, get that equity event. Equity is real, everybody. You need equity to place it into the next deal. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. That's what I love about it. And just to be able to be there and to see that and to be able to impact students and to say, man, I'm glad I joined. You changed my mindset. I never would have been able to do something like this. For me, actually, it was pretty selfish because during COVID, everyone shut down. We had events all throughout COVID. July of 2020, our first event, 80 people at the event, internal boot camp. It got me through COVID. I enjoyed it immensely because I was like, you know what? Not listening to any of the news, although we had to, you couldn't escape it. But going to those weekends is what I'm talking about with the mentorship. You go there, you're like, I'm a normal person. There's normal people here. We're still working on our dreams. The world does not stop for 5 or 6 or 10% of the population. The rest of the population, the sheeples, as I like to say, they're making excuses. The rest of us who are trying to be entrepreneurs and trying to create a life for ourselves, we're not making excuses. We're getting on planes. We're taking risks because we don't know what COVID's like, but I can't be locked up in a box. And now that I look 2 years later, I'm so thankful that I did that, because eventually I don't know one person in my life who hasn't had COVID. That's the amazing thing. Every single person has had it. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That was 2 years ago. Every single person has had it. And I would have looked back and I would have regretted that for the last 2 years if I didn't do it. But I was pushed because I had to do it because I had Jake and Gino. And that was one of the things I said, thank God I have this. I'm going out to these events and I'm meeting these people and I'm continuing to foster these relationships and saying, well, I'm from New York, Florida. Why are you guys so? It's just good for people to see what's going on in other parts of the country. And I love it. It's a great feeling. And for me, when you listen to Tony Robbins, he talks about the 6, basic human needs. It's number 5 and number 6, which is really, really important. It's contribution and it's growth. And you can buy all the toys you want and you can make all the money you want. At the end of the day, I think humans, we all want a connection. And if we can ultimately connect with others and we can create impact for others, there's nothing really better in life. For me, if I don't do another deal, I don't need another real estate deal. I know we're going to do them. We're closing 2 next week. We just closed on land today. We're closing on 1 tomorrow. That's great. If that happens, great. I don't need any more money. I know by helping others, ironically, I'm going to make more money that way. Most people don't understand that concept, that people who are wealthy create value for others. And the more value that I can create through the Jake and Gino community, and I can get that 35,000 units, which is probably going to go to 40,000 in the next 2 weeks, the more units that those students will buy, the more people are referred to the program, the more quality residents we get and quality students we get, the bigger it gets. It's just weird, but the more value you can create for others and the more solutions you can solve for people, the more money you're going to make.
God, that's such a fascinating concept. That concept of giving is actually where you start to receive more. And man, when I changed my mentality and I started being like, what can I do for you? And certainly, listen, we all need to take sometimes, of course,
Absolutely.
right? Like I joined the mentorship program. I started out, I was more of a taker than I was a giver, admittedly, right? We all kind of start there and that's okay. And all of us were there. But man, when that switches and you can start giving back and listen, I'm by no means an expert in, of course, you admitted offline that you don't even call yourself an expert, but like when you can just give and you can see that even just answering a simple question for someone just really propels them, God, that is just one of the most rewarding feelings. And that's what I've noticed is that as, you get to your level, that's when it's like, okay, now I want to give back. And I imagine that's kind of how this whole wheelbarrow profits thing came to fruition is you guys realized you were onto something and you're like, okay, now let's teach people how to do this.
Jonathan, I think at some point in life, you need to be selfish. And I think I read a book by a guy named Mike Malatesta. He talked about ownership. He was stuck in life and he was trying to grow his business. He needed to get selfish. And I think I may have gotten selfish in 2015 and 16 to focus on what I really needed. When you're not financially free, you're worried about paying the bills. I was worried about paying the bills and putting food on the table and saving for college. Once that was taken care of, it's like, okay, now I can really truly start creating. I was still very, I was still giving, donations at the time. I was still donating my time to certain charities, but not at the level that I can now. And money only allows you to do it more. That's the only thing. But for me, when I was in the grind of the W-2 in the restaurant, I could only really focus on myself, my little inner circle. Now that Jake and I have grown, we can affect so many other people. We've donated over 259,000 meals to Second Harvest Food Bank in the last 3 years. We're going to hit 1 million meals by 2030 easily. That's one of our initiatives. I've created scholarships for the Personal Finance Academy. I've created a program for young adults on personal finance. Ironically enough, Ron DeSantis, he just passed a law in Florida that's making financial literacy a must in school. He must have read my mind. We need that.
To DeSantis.
That's right. Financial education can change the world for the better. That's the bottom line. That's one of my initiatives. Can I do that when I'm running the restaurant? I can't create all these objectives and I can't impact others. We have to take care of ourselves first. We have to make ourselves stable. And then from there, man, I mean, the world is your oyster, as they say. I can continue to create these objectives because I'm not worried about making my next dollar. I'm not chasing money at this point. I'm chasing opportunity. And the more you chase opportunity, the more you can impact things. Because the more opportunities come your way, the more money you're going to make.
1,000%. And listen, we're not in the real estate business. We're in the finance and economics business.
Mm-hmm.
So being financially literate and understanding how these things work and how trends work and how markets work. And, obviously you guys teach all these things. That's what's important. And that's what's going to really open the door in whatever you want to do in life. And, obviously I'm biased towards real estate, but those are the things that's so important. And they don't teach that. They teach you what to think, not how to think. And once you shift and you start to learn how to think, man, what a difference that makes.
Agreed.
Gosh, that's awesome. Listen, I've enjoyed this very much. I know we could talk till we're blue in the face about it. I do want to get a little piece from you in terms of real estate. Obviously, a lot of economic uncertainty. What are you kind of seeing and what do you look for in your economic indicators? And what are you kind of seeing for the future?
So for us, we talk about the 3 pillars of real estate, and we've trademarked it. Coach Bill Hamm put it all together. It's always been out there, but he put it together and I love it. It's a framework that talks about market cycle, number 1, debt, number 2, and exit strategy, number 3. Now, for all of you real estate people out there, I made the mistake initially early on, not having an exit strategy. Just thought I'm going to buy a deal, go hold the deal forever. That may be one exit strategy, but make sure it's the one you want. If you're buying a 1950s building right now and your exit strategy is to hold it for the next 30 years, that may not be wise. Figure out what your exit strategy is. Then from there, you're going to figure out the debt on the property. Do you need short-term debt? Do you need bridge financing? Do you need community bank financing? Can you go to agency? Do you want prepayment, yield maintenance, whatever that looks like? But more importantly, figure out what part of the market cycle your asset is going to be bought in. In Knoxville right now, I would say you're probably in expansion, not really hyper supply yet, but it's a really hot market. But the problem is asset prices for C properties are really low. Cap rates are really low. They're pretty close to Bs. So if you're going to be overpaying for a C property right now, just be careful, because as prices come down, you're having to put a lot of capital into these properties and rejuvenate them. If you can buy these properties at a good price, I'd still buy Cs. We've bought a couple of Cs in the last 6 months, but we've bought them for really good price points, knowing that rents are just been rising. I think rents are going to continue to rise in markets in the Southeast, especially because people are moving there. Always follow the paths of progress, follow jobs, and follow population. And what I would say is we're buying assets in this part of the cycle for us that are a little bit newer. We love, and what I would say to everybody, find out what your criteria, your buy right criteria is. We love townhomes. We love 2-bed, 1.5 bath townhomes. We love washer dryer amenities in them. We love areas with median incomes of at least $50,000. So at least residents can feel safe, and they're better neighborhoods. Anytime you drop below 35, the area is a little bit more marginal. You're going to go into that asset thinking you're going to be raising rents. You can't impoverish the tenant base. You have to be careful of where you can go with those rents. And if you're going to be holding this asset for the next 10 years, is that asset going to last for the next 10 years? That's the problem if you're buying these older assets. Just be aware of that. We're looking for buildings, and for us, anything 100 units plus, we love it, but we're looking for smaller assets as well. And in Knoxville, we're just buying a 12-unit property. You're saying to yourself, why would you buy a 12-unit property? We're buying it for a great price. They're 3-bedroom townhomes. There are very few 3 beds in our Knoxville market, and there's a huge demand for it. So we've got 2 bedrooms and they're leaving because they need a 3. Well, this 12-unit townhome, 1999 build, great unit mix, great area, great price point. Rents are going to go up to $1,800. So looking at that, create what you want to buy, select one market, really learn that market really well, and then focus on what you're trying to buy, and then pull in that market cycle, that debt and that exit strategy, and look at it from that lens as well.
Wow, incredible. That's really an incredible framework. And I feel like so many people just fly blind. And lately the market has kind of allowed for that and forgiven it, but that won't last forever. So it's important to have that structure and framework in place.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, we are on to the final 5 questions. The same 5 questions I ask all my guests. So you are a mentor, but every mentor has a mentor. So, or at least the best ones I think should. So best advice you've gotten from a mentor.
Believe it or not, it was from my dad. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. And I think to me, it's true. You can make $1 million, but if you're paying 50% tax bracket, you only left to 500 grand. Cost seg, bonus depreciation has been really productive for me. So thanks, Pops, for that tip.
I love that. That's so awesome. What is it about your career that makes you feel like you're fulfilling your why?
For me, it's working with my family. So my family comes to all the Jake and Gino events, the boot camps, they come to MM4. They're part of an entrepreneurial journey. They understand delaying gratification. They understand investing in assets and not saving for an event, but saving for an asset to pay for that event. That mind shift right there, that middle-class mind shift from being, that middle class saying, I'm going to save for retirement. Don't save for retirement. Save to buy a duplex that'll help you pay for your retirement. Don't save for college. Buy a 20 unit like I did back in 2013, a 25 unit. That's put my first daughter in college. My son, second one, is going through college right now. That one little 25 unit asset is going to pay for all 6 kids' college. I'm still going to own it. It's still paying down the principal. I still got the cost seg. And then after they're all done with college, I still own that asset.
Gosh, that's awesome. So powerful. What's your favorite non-real estate or investment related book?
Oh, there's so many. The one I really love, I've read in the last year again, is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. Just those 7 habits are awesome. Figure out what you want your life to end up with, and then reverse engineer that. Figure out what your values are. Figure out what values are, and it's values-based decision making for me. Figure out once those values are locked in, every decision has got to lead back to your values.
I love that. That's so awesome. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
There's nothing, I just started taking opera lessons, and I'm a pretty good singer, dramatic tenor. And I would say I'd love to sound like like Mr. Corelli. Corelli was a great singer, and I'd love to sound like him. I sound pretty good. I'm getting there. It's a lot of work, like real estate. You got to go. It's another thing. I'm going to coaching, taking lessons every Friday, choir Wednesday, mass on Sunday. So I'm singing 3 days a week at least. I'm practicing, but I'd love to be able to be an amazing singer.
That's awesome. I don't know if anyone will ever have that same answer. That is very unique, and I love that so much. Last one, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Learn more.
JakeandGino.com. If you want to email me for a copy of Creative Cash, hit me up, Gino@JakeandGino.com. It's my email.
Awesome. We will link all of that in the show notes. Gino, thank you so much. Like I told you, I'm trying not to fanboy this whole time. I am so grateful. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
My pleasure, bro. Thanks a lot. Take care,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Listen, I know it's cliche and you hear it all the time, but please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you know when the next video is coming out. Even though this is technically a daily podcast, you know it's coming out the next day. We have a ton of content coming your way, so please like and subscribe. It helps a ton. Leave comments. We'd love to know what you guys think, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks so much.